Toronto. Is it in crisis? Is it dysfunctional? Is there a fix? Based on what this gentleman says, let's see what this gentleman says. What happened to this city is the title. Managed into decline.
What if I told you Toronto isn't declining by accident? It's being mismanaged on purpose. Folks, I love this city. I was born here. I built my life here. I built my business here. I raised my family here. And today, for the first time in my life, I'm saying this out loud. Toronto is not being led. It's being managed into decline. And if you think that's dramatic, go spend one full day driving the streets, taking the TTC, walking downtown, talking to small business owners.
Folks, I'm going to do folks. I will reveal the real problem of the city. The villain, the victim, and the hero. Just so you know. Let's go back to the main video here.
Or standing in a food bank line that didn't exist at this scale 5 years ago. This city isn't struggling because of bad luck. It's struggling because of bad priorities. And the biggest insult, the media keeps telling residents everything is fine. That's not optimism. That's gaslighting 101. Let's start with the most basic duty of...
Now here's the next question for the immediate right now. Who is gaslighting? I'm sure this gentleman here is speaking from his heart with a passion based on what he feels is the issue. But the real question I'm going to ask based on what you're seeing here, is he also gaslighting? Just saying, folks.
Government, public safety, carjackings, random assaults, retail theft, transit incidents, daylight crime. You don't need a crime report to know this is real. You feel it in how people walk around now. Faster, head down, keys between their fingers, eyes over their shoulders. Police response times are stretched. Courts are backlogged. Repeat offenders are back on the street within...
Now let's look at this issue right now. Police, courts, people getting out on bail because the court systems are backlogged. So where does that problem arise from? It's the provincial, yes, you heard me right, provincial government of Ontario that's led by a conservative government by the name of Doug Ford. You can blame it on the city all you want, but understand the provincial government provides the funding for the city, for the Metropolitan Police Department, and all other regional police departments, the court systems, and provides the facilities to keep people behind bars until the court deals with it. And this is the reality with Michael J. I just thought I'd throw that at you.
Days. And what does city leadership offer? Root causes, complex issues, long-term strategies. Translation? No immediate plan, no accountability, no urgency.
Well, urgency is rather inappropriate under these circumstances. So what do I mean by that? The reality is, since 1980, make it 1995, under the Mike Harris government, the downloaded services to the municipalities that amalgamated all the bureaus of the city of Toronto into one mega city in order to justify the downloading, because, well, we're going to find synergies of costs. And what do I mean by synergies of costs? Well, we'll cut down the overlap of costs so we'll get more efficiencies with costs. Well, guess what? All you've done is taken away from the local areas, the input of the local areas, which has a definite flavor. Like every bureau is different. The demographics of every bureau was different. So they put it into one big mega city, and you wonder why you have a problem. And then the costs that were normally dealt with by the provincial government, they reduced their budget outlays to the cities, downloaded the costs and various other costs that the cities had to assume. And one important thing that you have to understand, the only revenue tool the City of Toronto has is property taxes. And you've always had a mayor in the City of Toronto that kept property taxes as minimal as possible, which meant sacrificing services because there are budget limitations. So those are the real issues. Those are the problems. And to blame the city, who has neither the tools necessary to deal with the issues this gentleman is portraying. So let's be fair. The Ontario, which is the provincial government, is the real problem here. Not the city. The Ontario provincial government is the real problem. Let's listen a little further what this gentleman has to say.
Let's talk about what Toronto used to never tolerate. Open drug use, encampments, people overdosing in public parks, needles near playgrounds, families detouring their kids around human suffering. Compassion used to mean treatment, recovery, support, accountability.
And there you go. Now he's pointing out another issue with the provincial government. The forced removal of encampments for the homeless. The affordability issue is much more serious than people realize. And it's not just centralized to Toronto, to Ontario, to Canada. It's a worldwide issue. And the reason you have that worldwide issue is because of neoclassical economics, which really took a strong foothold under Reagan and Margaret Thatcher in 1985. And it's morphed into the issue we have now. So how do we fix that issue? The affordability issue? That's not going to be fixed by your provincial governments. That's not going to be fixed by your municipal governments. It requires a federal government fix. But the issue with that is you have a conservative government that is the majority alternative to the government that's in power now. And it's the policies of that conservative government, conservative ideologies, whether it's provincial, federal, those kind of policies that are proposed by the federal conservative government are the same policies that contributed to the problem, exasperated the problem, and you have to understand the free market theory is what has created this problem. There are fixes for it, and nobody can do it right now because of belief systems from the past. They're still trying to carry through to the present that do not serve the people. And that has to be dealt with and explained in another video. It's not appropriate here, but the dynamics of what is at issue here, it has a parallel to the federal level as well. So understand, we're dealing with the municipality, City of Toronto, and the provincial government, which is a conservative government under Doug Ford. Now, people are also going to say, well, he's a red Tory, not a real conservative, like Daniel Smith in Alberta, like Pierre Poilievre, the opposition leader of the Conservative Party, which is really the Reform Party in disguise nowadays. That happened when Stephen Harper became Prime Minister. But it's the policies that are at issue that have created this affordability issue. So the fixes by the Ontario government are another issue. Let's listen to this gentleman a little bit more.
Now, it means enablement without any enforcement. We've replaced recovery with resignation, accountability with excuses, and solutions with symbolism. You can't run a city on harm reduction alone. You need law, order, treatment, and boundaries simultaneously.
Law, order, treatment, and boundaries simultaneously. Yikes. Isn't that interesting? But here's the issue. The Ontario government under Doug Ford is taking these homeless encampments, clearing them out forcefully so they've got nowhere else to go. Shelter system is maxed out. And then they legislate that you're going to penalize these people also. They're already under enough hardship. You're going to penalize them by giving them tickets, at least $1,000, because of the way they've been forced to live, whether it's circumstantially through other factors at play or their own demise, which can happen. We are human. We do make mistakes. So now we've got a situation where the Ontario government is not just the hero. It's playing the hero, because you see that with bike lanes being wiped out and speed cameras being eliminated, the enforcement of encampments being just totally moved right out. Where they go, who knows? People have got nowhere to go. So now we have a situation where people are desperate. People have nowhere to go. So what are you going to keep doing? Penalizing them? Keep creating a situation where we're going to give them tickets because they're taking a public park space or ravines by an area close to a byway or highway? Everything is done to penalize people, not really truly help people. So let's go to this situation here now. Let's go to the main screen. Now you have a situation where the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, signed an agreement with Doug Ford, and the people, the reporters, asked the question. And the situation that arose was, and the response by Carney was, we were close to an agreement with the United States when asked about Ontario's anti-tariff ad. So there was an agreement with steel and lumber that was being put into place, but that got terminated by the Terminator, Donald J. Trump, because of an advertisement by Doug Ford Now, was the advertisement by Doug Ford appropriate? Probably so, when you're looking at the U.S. under the existing government of Donald Trump bullying everybody around the world. It was appropriate, but at the same time, it was not, because you got a federal government trying to carve out some situation where Canada is not as severely affected in a negative manner. So, because Doug Ford, he's another form of a bully that exerts his will on the city of Toronto, and you see that with bike lanes, you see that with education. He's one of the few premiers that have used the notwithstanding clause. So Doug Ford plays the hero, but at the same time, he's the villain, claims he's the victim because of the actions of the municipality, but he plays villain, victim, and hero very well. And the fact of the matter is, the problem with the city of Toronto, and the problem with crime, and the problem with affordability, and the problem with the court systems, and why there's no room to keep people behind bars that are probably more than an average offender, is because of the funding to the system. And the reason why this happens on a macroeconomic scale, a lot has to do with economic policies of conservative governments, past and present, being forced upon government, forced upon the people. And a lot of people do not realize that is what the issue is. And the fix is, as we've seen with the federal government, is deficit spending. And the deficit spending is not to the degree that really needs to be invested in fixing the problems. But because of belief systems from people from bygone era, brought to the forefront into the present. And a perfect example is where you're trying to compare a household budget with a federal government budget. There's no comparable way of looking at it because it's so different. The person, the family, the household have to operate under different parameters. We have to understand where government creates money and what government creates money. And the government that creates money is the federal government. And people will say, well, when they create money, they create inflation. That's a false narrative as well, which can be very well explained. And if you look at the top 500 companies in the United States of America, over the course of the last 30 plus years or more, they are the procreators of inflation upon the people. There are fixes for it. We're not going to go into it here, but this is where we're at. So this is where we're at. This is where we're leaving it. Questions, comments, please throw in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Ciao for now.